Welcome to Beyond the Surface. With me, Debbie Ann Turnbull. Here we dive deeper than the obvious to explore what really keeps our families safe and our minds strong. After losing my only son Chris to drowning, I've dedicated my life to water safety education and helping others heal. With many years of training and personal experience, I'm here to help you navigate your challenges, because the most important truths are found beyond the surface. Today, I have an incredible lady with me, and I'm sure that many of you have actually seen her all over the news, in the press, and just about everywhere she can get. This lady I've watched for many years, and she belongs to the same club that I do. And it's a club that is really nothing either of us would ever want to be in. I'm sure you'll agree, Rhianne. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to get Rhianne to tell us her story. And I hope that it will help people out there, as all the other ones seem to be doing. But I hope also we find that people will know they've got somewhere to go. Okay? I've got a lump in my throat already. Rhianne, tell us your story and tell us about the people you loved and you lost.
Yeah, oh, hi Debbie, lovely to see you eventually. We've been trying to catch up for a while, haven't we? And thank you for this opportunity. Yeah, so back in 2012, my life was everything I'd ever wanted it to be, we had everything we wanted, and my husband and I had three beautiful children. And yeah, you take that for granted, unfortunately, I think at the time, but it was everything we'd always wanted, and we were very, very happy. Um, Unfortunately, on Wednesday, the 22nd of February, 2012, my youngest son, George, passed away suddenly. It was a normal evening. We were just watching TV, but George suddenly started to have a fit on the floor at home, was rushed to our local A&E department, but within 2 hours of being admitted, George passed away. And things like that don't happen to you. They happen to other people. You see it on the news, and you just can't even believe or start to understand where and how this has happened. We got through the next 5 days like you have to, really. We spent time with our other two children. Paul and I talked a lot, spent a lot of time just trying to come to terms with what we were going through. But it was just too much. So 5 days after George died, my husband, my absolute best friend, walked out of the home and he took his own life. And again, this all happens to you and you just don't know what to do next. I knew I had to keep going for Holly and Isaac. I didn't want to keep going at that point, but you're just left in this huge space where you feel so lonely, you feel so confused, you feel really sad, very angry, and there just isn't anything, or certainly wasn't anything around us to support us or look after us. And I truly believe that if there had been support available, Paul would be here today. And that's really hard to live with, because sadly children do pass away suddenly and you never want it to be one of your own. But no dad should walk out the house and never come back. And that's what happened to our family.
And Rhianne, tell us about your little boy, first of all.
So George was amazing. He was always smiling. He was our third child. So we had three under three. So it was quite a crazy life we had. But he came along and I think he just had to fit in with everything we did. He was dragged from pillar to post, but he just always smiled. He had these little sticky out ears, lots of blonde curls, lots of smiles, and just brought so much joy to our family. And we always wanted even more children, but he did make the family we were at that time really complete. And to lose him was massive for all of us, of course, but for his brother and sister to understand that at such a young age was really difficult too.
Yeah, I absolutely get that. And what about Paul? What kind of dad was he?
Paul was the best. He was the best husband, the best dad, my best friend, our rock. He lit up the room when he walked in. He was just such a kind, warm man who just everyone loved, and generally everyone loved him. He was just so wonderful. He lived for his children. When Holly was born, we didn't know we were having a boy or a girl. And when he realized it was a little girl, it was love at first sight, and he absolutely adored her. Then to have a boy, two boys, his little rugby team had started then. And he just, we were just one big family, and we spent all our time together, and he was the best dad in the sense he wanted to help me when I fed during the night. He sat with me, kept me awake, and we were just a team.
Yeah,
And I could never ever have imagined my life without him.
it's wonderful. It's beautiful, Ria. And so after all this has happened to you and you were going through what you were going through, how did you actually get through? What coping mechanisms did you use? Or did you kind of fumble through it? So, how did you cope and how did you get to the point where you set up what you set up?
Um, you have to get through it, I
Mm.
think, and I can remember the first few weeks were a blur. I functioned. I made sure I was there for the children, but you also realize that you do need to live. I was existing. I wasn't living at that point, and you know, you have people around you who care so much about you, but you know they, they're trying to encourage you to do these things that you just feel you can't, but you have to. I had a lot of support from my parents and my sister and my friends. Without them, I don't know where I would have been. And I used that a lot. I did have a lot of company. I talked very openly from day one.
Me too.
Um, I think it's so important. And even then, back then, obviously, with what happened to Paul, there was a stigma around that. And I know a lot of people were angry and questioning Paul for walking out and never coming home. But that never occurred to me. It was just so much loss. um, so yeah, talking was huge for me. It's trying to remind myself. My favorite word is glimmers, and my what I really had to do even back then was make sure I didn't lose hope. Because if
Yeah.
my cup had become half empty, I would never have been able to get up and get going. So I had to stay positive. I don't know how, but I did. I was always looking every day for that tiny, tiny little bit of hope. And I think that's really important to anyone who's listening, however dark it feels, and it does feel dark.
Mhm.
There are always something, this tiny, tiny, tiny thing, but just to focus on that, because Paul should never have walked out and taken his own life, because we would have been okay. And I think it's important for people to know that, it is going to be okay, just a very, very different okay.
I think it's also really important that people can trust that we do talk more now, don't we? I mean, my Chris drowned in 2006. I mean, the difference between then and now,
Yeah,
um, it was kind of archaic in 2006, you
I
know.
bet.
Um, it was the school couldn't cope. His mates were just had gone into complete shock and there was no one there. There was just no one there. I mean, we've got Crew's bereavement care, obviously, and I had an amazing lady. I was really, really lucky to have this lady, and she actually stayed with me about 5 years. Um, so Rhiann, tell us when you got the idea to do what you do, and tell us what you do.
So even when it happened, it was clear that nobody, like you just said, so I lost the boy 6 years after your loss, and things hadn't really changed much at all. And we've still got a long, long way to go, but things have improved, and people are a little bit more comfortable about talking about death and sad, traumatic tragedies, everything like that. But I decided very quickly that this was not right. When you give birth, so I gave birth to George 12 months and 1 week before he died. And we had so much support. You know, you have so much support when life is brought in. You know, you have that baby. When they die, how's that? How can that happen? How can you just be abandoned by a system? And
Yeah.
we had so many amazing professionals working with us,
Mm.
but there was actually nobody to sit and hold our hand, put the kettle on, and talk to us. And as I said, I generally think that would have saved my husband. So I decided very quickly on just to try and raise money for the local hospital where George died, to make sure that a room was there for families to be able to use when they were waiting for hopefully good news or bad news. Because when George died, there wasn't anywhere for us to wait. We just stood around by his bedside when he died. They then carried his body through the corridors of the hospital looking for somewhere for us to sit with him. And that all contributed to my husband's state of mind. I completely believe that. But when I went and met the health board, they were sadly what they actually said was that not enough people died in that hospital to warrant the use of my money in that A&E department.
Oh,
Now,
God.
I'm sure, Debbie, you've had knockbacks in your life, and actually, when they
Oh, a
happen,
lot.
they make you
Many.
they make you stronger. You know, at that
They
point, I
do.
was devastated, and then I thought, well, if this is being seen, if bereavement is being seen by the top people in these health boards like this, then I'm going to change that. My boys are going to change that. So I started then just talking to the people from other hospitals and trusts, and eventually Cardiff, the largest A&E in Wales, came along to me and just said, we believe in you. We need your support and help, because actually people die all the time in A&E departments, and families need the support they truly deserve.
Yeah.
And that was really where the ball started rolling. I had no idea what I was doing. I was a PE teacher at the time. I didn't know how to do anything really.
No, me
Um,
neither.
it's amazing, isn't it? What you learn when you're
Yeah.
passionate, you
Yeah, I
know?
was in the beauty business,
Oh,
I mean, going from that to being on
yeah,
an RNLI boat in the middle of Liverpool, the Mersey,
yeah.
it's a complete change.
But you're
Sorry.
passionate. No, you're no. Don't be sorry. It's great because it's
Mm,
passion,
mm,
And this is what I try and say to a lot of people now. If you're passionate, you can do pretty much anything.
yeah.
And I just started going around and talking to people, meeting other families. I thought maybe we were a mistake. Maybe we just dropped off the end of the list and nobody realised. But actually, no, this was happening across Wales, and I just wanted to make sure that no other father felt that desperate. And
Mm.
that's really where Tuish started. Tuish started as a charity to help families in our local area. And then very quickly, within 5 years, we were an all Wales charity working directly with every health board and police force in Wales. But what we brought that was very unique to a lot of bereavement charities was that ongoing counselling and support wasn't enough for us. I didn't want that to be the only thing we could offer families, because for me, Paul only was with us for 5 days after George died. What we needed was someone to ring us or to come and visit us during that very, very short period of time to tell us that, you know, we were going to be okay, but also to talk to us about those feelings of guilt that you feel, those feelings of blame, those feelings of complete loss and isolation. So what
And
to it?
hopelessness as well, absolute hopelessness, because it's like it's just like a big black wall has come in front of you, and you just don't know what to do.
And you've never, sadly, most people only go through this once. Sadly, you have no idea what the
Mm.
process is. We didn't realize the police were going to come and knock on our door. We didn't know where George was being taken. All
Mm.
of these things that actually now you realize how important those things are to families, because they've lost control. You know where your child is most of the time. You
Yeah.
are in control of what they're eating, all of these little things. And the
Mm.
next thing, they're gone in a heartbeat. And I know you sadly know this as much as anyone. And you're then just faced with literally the rest of your life in front of you, which you just don't know where to start. And
True.
it's
I
frightening.
I remember going into school, because what Chris's mates did, his nickname was Deb. because it was me that carried them everywhere, drove them everywhere. So his nickname was Debs, believe it or not. And he was the one that went into, he'd go to the pictures with all his mates, but then he'd go with all the girls and he'd cry, he'd be the one that's crying at the film, you know. And it was so intense that I went into school because they rang me and they said it's kind of getting to hysteria. So that was when I went into school and I spoke to them all in a big assembly, and we did a fundraiser. So we walked from the top of Colwyn Bay to Ross-on-Sea, and it gave them something to focus
Yeah,
on. And
yeah,
we raised money for the Ogwen Valley Mountain Rescue.
yeah.
We raised a lot of money and we did a lot of things for them. And you know, when you mention hope, this comes to mind is that when we were there, when we started our walk, the rainbow started.
What a sign. You can't,
And I've had so many, so many. And that was my glimmer.
yeah,
And then the butterflies started,
okay,
white butterflies. And then one instance, we've taken Chris to a place called Angel Bay, and it's
okay,
the other side of the Little Orme.
right.
And one day I was just walking along there, and from the gorse on the right, and it just happened in a minute, but it felt like an hour. And hundreds of butterflies just came and landed all over, and I just put my arms out.
Oh,
It just sat all down my arm, on my head, and people were just standing looking at me. And I had the most incredible interpretation of what that meant, which I want to keep secret. But it was just so beautiful.
yeah,
And this is why I did intervene just then, because I think people need to have those glimmers, those
yeah,
little sparks of light somewhere
yeah,
along the way, because um I got the young people, they were coming to the house and we went on Bebo and they taught me how to go online. And that's what
yeah.
gave me the want to do what I've
Do
done.
what you do.
Please carry on. Sorry, Rhianne.
No, no, not at all. No, it's
Okay.
I love hearing about everything. And I think so with the immediate support we offer, so in your situation, what would have happened is that we would have obviously had the referral in what happened from the police or the hospital. And then rather than you having to go looking for help, we would be getting consent from you for us to be able to get in touch with you. And we then will give you a ring and come and see you within 48 hours of your loss. But then what we also will do is we will talk to you then around his interests and maybe where other people would be affected. So for instance, we would have offered support to anyone who was with him, anyone who was affected by what had happened. We'd have gone into his school and spoken to all of the pupils and the staff and the parents if need be. If he played rugby or football, we'd go into his football teams. If he had a Saturday job, we'd pop in there. We look at that ripple effect that, everyone thinks of a family. And of course, we are absolutely devastated and our lives are changed more than anybody's. But people are affected who perhaps people don't even think. And it's important that we try and contain that trauma and that grief as well. And that immediate support, I didn't think would ever, it was what I was most passionate about, but I didn't think that anyone would ever, you have to share information. There's obviously a lot of strict rules around that. But very quickly, that immediate support pathway was across Wales. So if, touch wood, there was a 25 or under who died today, and the parents were happy for their details to be sent to us, we would have their referral in today. So before it's on the Welsh news,
Oh
we
wow.
we normally know about it.
When it happened to us, John came in at 4:10 that day and he said, "Where's Chris?" And I think he's gone to Capel. And he just went, "He's dead." And he got it on the news on the radio.
Oh gosh, Debbie, really?
Mm. And he walked in and I said, "Right." I immediately started to ring the police, and the doorbell went, and there were two officers at the door. They told us that he was lost. So we were thinking for probably nearly 2 hours that he was going to be found. And it was after 6 o'clock when they said he was lost under the water. So we sat for 2 hours thinking he was still alive. And while we were sat for 2 hours, the local press were going door to door, finding out who we were.
And
Now,
there
I've
needs
always
to be a lot
had,
more done around the press.
I touch wood. I've only had one bad experience with the press, and that's what I call the gutter press. I'm sure you know who that is.
Yeah,
But the rest of them have been incredible. But because I've had a PR background, I write a lot of my own stuff. So I've been lucky. But that I will never ever forget that day, because that is what it was like. And
yeah,
um to have had, like you say, to have had something like what you're doing that day there would have been so different, because not only had I got that information, he was with five of his mates. One of them didn't speak for 5 days.
right. Yeah.
The police brought them to the house because they knew how close we all were. I was so close. There was 350 at his funeral, Rhianne.
Wow. Wow. And
But
those boys that, to go through what they went through, those
oh,
friends,
it's horrific.
they needed some proper support,
They were
straight away.
they were put into a police van and taken to the police station
Were they?
like criminals.
Yeah.
And but then that's all they could do. They were in
Yeah.
the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Mobile phones weren't working, so this is part of all my education. But to have had that level of support from someone like you, I honestly believe that my mental health and my husband's and all of us who were involved would have had a very different story to tell. I really do.
And we can't change what happens to our families, yourself. We can't, and nothing is ever going to stop that pain. But it's having someone to sit with you and talk to you when you're saying, "This is my fault. I should have stopped this. I should have known."
Yeah,
All of these things, you just want somebody. And even though you and I will have grieved differently, you and your husband grieved. Everyone is different. You just need somebody amongst all of this chaos to have a
yeah,
cup of tea with you.
you do. You
And
really
that's what my
do.
team will do, is offer that immediate support. And because of the success of our organisation, we're now working across the bridge in many
Mm.
areas of England, and it's going to continue to grow, which is amazing. But it shouldn't be down to a charity to offer this support,
No.
because I know if without Wish now, the families that we work with wouldn't have heard from anyone, which is
Mm.
frightening. Um, but also, we shouldn't have to be doing this, because parents shouldn't be losing their children. It's not what should happen. And it's a really, really difficult thing.
I also feel that because we have had the experiences that we've had, we are the better people to be doing a certain level of this work. I mean, we've got
Yeah,
people like the RNLI and the RLSS, but I, like you, are very different to whatever else is out there, because that's like a business, a national. I know we're
yeah,
businesses, but you know what I mean,
yeah, yeah,
like the government and all that kind of thing, and the NHS, because we do it from a heart and soul perspective, which
yeah,
is so important, and we strive and we fight, and I'm sure you fought to get money in, and
yeah,
and keep going as
yeah,
well. So,
yeah.
Rhianne, tell us about your little cup of tea and Welsh cakes.
Oh gosh, yes, I've had a very surreal couple of weeks. So I was fortunate to meet Prince William many years ago when I did a documentary around mental health and running. And we've been in touch a couple of times since. And then a few weeks ago, I had an email from his team saying that he'd like to come out and see me at my house, which made me laugh a lot when he first said it, because I didn't really believe it. But yeah, he wanted to come out. So 2 weeks ago, he came in a car, pulled up on my driveway, and came in the house for a cup of tea, which wasn't a nice cup of tea. It was pretty poor of me, and my mum had made him Welsh cakes, which he took home with him. So yeah, absolutely amazing, very surreal, very emotional, because we talked about obviously suicide prevention, but he got to meet the children. The children spoke about their brother and their dad, which was
Beautiful.
hard to hear, but
Mm.
really lovely. And yeah, it made the headlines and everything went a bit crazy, to be honest.
And so what is the plan now? What we're planning now, Rhian?
So I'm always planning. I'm sure you understand that.
Me too.
My mind doesn't stop, but gosh, at the moment, I think we are involved with the Royal Foundation and Prince
Yeah.
William around suicide prevention network across the 4 nations, which is really exciting for us to be one of those organisations. Um, my children are growing up far too quick, so I'm trying to spend as much time as I can with them, but also to wish will continue to grow. We are taking a small period of time, about 12 months now, just to consolidate, check we know where everything is, what our policies are, procedures, communication, just tidying everything up because we've grown unbelievably quickly.
I know.
And then we're looking at expanding even further then at the start of 2027. So yeah, no plans to retire or step down at the moment.
Me neither. No way.
Um,
No chance.
it's hard, isn't it? It's our
Yeah.
baby.
Mm. And it is the whole thing. It is your baby because it's the future. It's what would have been, and I feel like I'm sure you get this, that we are working on the people that may have been our children, our children's children, and to me that is just so precious.
Yeah, and I think I started to. So in the beginning, it was a real mission of mine. I was probably obsessed and a bit of a workaholic, although I do like to
And
work a lot.
yeah,
But what I've tried to do is just try to, I don't know, the word is to sort of slightly step back from the legacy side of things and try to focus on the families we're going to help in the future. Because I think you can't, I didn't want to live a life for Paul and George constantly because I also have Holly and Isaac. But it's getting that balance right of this is this is Paul and George's legacy. There's no getting away from that.
yours
Um, but things will
and yours.
change, and
Yeah.
I have got staff. I've got a lot of staff now as well. So it is a business, like you said as well. So you've got to try and take the emotional out of it, which is hard.
Mhm.
But I am who I am. I lead by I've got values, but I lead by example, and I want to be someone who gets their hands dirty and wears their heart on their sleeve.
Yeah.
And stopping is not an option at the moment.
Mm. It's not. Watch your health, because honestly I've burnt out so many times. But
Yeah.
the thing is, I'm like Tigger. I just bounce back again, and people go, "Oh my God, here she is again."
Oh, everyone
But
says that.
yeah, it's got to be done, hasn't it? This work has to be done. Rhiann,
Yeah,
um, it was so lovely finally to actually
I
get to
know.
speak to you.
Yes,
Gosh, just things and people in between and life and everything, and it's taken flipping ages.
I
But
know.
I do hope this helps other people, and I really, really hope that you get everything that you wish for, truly. Thank
Debbie,
you.
that's so lovely. And if anyone's watching this and has lost a child or young adult up to the age of 25 under sudden circumstances, please reach out. But, you're not alone, and there are organisations and to wish that can help.
Yeah. Thank you,
Thank you,
Rhiannon.
Debbie, and lots of love to you as well.
Thank
You're
you. Stay on
amazing.
now. Stay on.
Okay.
You are too.
Welcome to Beyond the Surface with me, Debbie Ann Turnbull. Here we dive deeper than the obvious to explore what really keeps our families safe and our minds strong. After losing my only son Chris to drowning, I've dedicated my life to water safety education and helping others heal. With many years of training and personal experience, I'm here to help you navigate your challenges. because the most important truths are found beyond the surface.